All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Michael Grosser. I'm Executive Director of Fluid Management Technology. At FMT, we work with over 200 Australian mines to help them track and manage more than 1.6 billion litres of fuel. We use the Smart Fuel Management System. We're the manufacturer of that system and the reporting platform that goes with it. Together with our partners at Fuelfix, we're here to talk about one of the toughest energy challenges facing our sector. That is how to decarbonise diesel. Diesel remains the lifeblood of mining. It's reliable, it's flexible, and it powers everything from the haul trucks to the generators. But it accounts for 20 to 50% of a mine's on-site carbon emissions. Now, with Australia's resource sector facing a mandated 4.9% annual reduction in carbon intensity per tonne of output, the question becomes, how do we reduce diesel while still keeping our mining operations moving? The reality is there's no silver bullet. Heavy vehicles don't yet have a cost-effective replacement technology at scale, so we have to look elsewhere for the wins. When it comes to decarbonising, the first step is simple but critical. We've got to measure it. We need to measure the fuel that's used, then we need to manage it, reduce it, and then displace it. So, how many people really know where your fuel is going? Can you open up your fuel management system right now and be confident that you're getting accurate data from it? Across our work benchmarking fuel management systems in mining, we've found that about 13% of operators can completely track fuel from the moment it arrives on site to when it's consumed, with a less than 2% variance. That's what we consider the gold standard, and many more have the data, but it's spread across multiple platforms. The others fall short, sometimes by a wide margin, depends on the operation. Why? It's typically a lack of three things. A lack of sensors, properly managing the flow of fuel from when it's delivered to where it's used. Incomplete setup of the fuel management system. Sometimes sites are set up with override codes that get used more often than the actual asset IDs that are supposed to be used. And we also find that a lack of oversight of the systems once installed can mean that the data gets less accurate as time goes on. So here's the challenge. If you don't have an accurate baseline, how can we measure decarbonisation? How can you prove progress to shareholders, regulators, or your own teams without a baseline of what's being used currently? Many of you already use our systems, but the truth is not all of them are being used to their full potential. With simple upgrades and help in configuring and managing the system, you can track fuel with greater accuracy. What does that involve? Well, 4 steps. You've got to measure deliveries from suppliers, track transfers between tanks, record consumption at the asset level, and generate reports. Once you've got the quality data, you can reconcile your inventory, claim tax credits, and calculate your emissions. So my encouragement to all of you here is just to audit your current systems and bring them up to best practices. Without that baseline, your decarbonisation plan has no anchor. Okay, once you're measuring the fuel, we need to manage it. One of the biggest insights from our benchmark review is that many fuel management systems are not actively managed. Vehicle IDs get passed around, records don't get updated, and fuel ends up allocated to the wrong equipment. Then admin time is spent chasing and running down these anomalies to find out and ask operators where the fuel was actually used. With an average site managing 12.5 million litres annually, and some up to many hundreds of litres, hundreds of millions of litres, these small errors can add up quickly. So accurately accounting for fuel will allow you to identify waste by tracking down spillage and leaks, detect theft and misuse by holding people accountable, spot operational inefficiencies by identifying overused or underused tanks, and ultimately cut both carbon and costs. Right now, across our fuel management network, miners are trialling various solutions to decarbonise. I've done an analysis and we've found that 1.8% of our tanks are now identified as biodiesel and other low carbon fuel alternatives. We also have fuel additives being used in our network now for things like Aderco have a dosing system that is using a smart fill to manage the dosing into the tanks and reduce the carbon that is produced every time a litre of diesel is burnt. So we're now monitoring those as well. We also have hybrid equipment where diesel engines are supported by batteries. SmartFuel records the real-world data and compares it to manufacturers' claims. Here I've got a picture of a Fuelfix battery being integrated where a generator would have traditionally been installed. And very soon, for those trialling electric vehicles like the ones that were just presented previously, we're also integrating with EV chargers so that the charging sessions can be managed on the same platform as the diesel usage. Why does this matter? Well, because any decarbonisation initiative is only as strong as the evidence behind it. Shareholders, regulators and government programs will demand proof. The fuel management system will give you that proof and that audit trail to be able to access grants and also to be able to win over your shareholders. So we've created an industry benchmark report for the mining industry, which aggregates data from more than 200 mines. You can download a copy of it on the QR code if you want to read it later. What we found is 13% of our fuel used, of our miners, have full visibility of their fuel used down to 2% accuracy. 74% of them can track fuel used and their tank levels, but they're not tracking everything, so they still end up with a lack of complete oversight of their fuel used. About half of them are also have configuration issues that simply could be improved to make their data more accurate. And about a quarter are not really using the fuel management system to its full potential and are just using it to stop theft. This is the current state of play among the industry, and if we're serious about decarbonising and just managing our fuel costs better, we have to move closer to industry best practices. Without that accurate data, we're not going to be able to forecast the potential benefits of your decarbonisation strategy, and you're not going to be able to prove what its results are. All right. So to close, let me leave you with this thought. I believe economics must lead the path to sustainability. If a decarbonisation strategy delivers cost savings and stronger margins, adoption will follow. So please audit your infrastructure, capture accurate data and build a true baseline. From there you can decarbonise. And I'll hand you over to Tricia, who will give you some actionable insights on what is happening right now in that space.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. So good afternoon, everyone. I know it's like the graveyard session, but I'm hoping for a bit of energy here, so don't let me down. Data from our fuel management systems can help us understand our fuel consumption across operations. It can help us eliminate waste. And more importantly, it can help us optimise equipment uptime by having the right size fuel infrastructure in the right place. At a time where the pressure to decarbonise meets the opportunity to innovate, the good news is that you don't need to choose between sustainability and operational performance. We can have both. Simple changes on how we store and use diesel on site can help us to reduce operational costs and drive down carbon emissions. And as these solutions can be hired or purchased pending your capital constraints, decarbonisation can actually be a competitive advantage, not a compromise. Diesel is still the backbone of many mining operations, as Michael said. It's reliable, but it's also responsible for up to 50% of a mine site's CO2 emissions, with Australian mines last year alone burning 8 billion litres of diesel. Diesel generators are used on site as a source of primary backup and mobile plant power. They're particularly useful in mine sites that are remote or off-grid, that have limited connectivity to the electrical grid, or in some cases no connectivity at all. Geoscience Australia estimates there are 330 active mine sites in Australia. When used in isolation, diesel generators can often be high cost, high maintenance and highly carbon intensive. In an environment with escalating fuel logistics costs and high diesel price volatility, any steps or measures we can take to mitigate fuel use on site and extend those asset maintenance cycles can actually be paramount to an organisation's success. Understanding where and how we use diesel generators on site can help us to implement systems to reduce diesel and therefore reduce our emissions. Data from our fuel management systems can be our most powerful decarbonisation tool if they're analysed to give actionable insights on how to change things up. By analysing fuel usage patterns, idle time and load profiles, we can uncover inefficiencies that cost carbon and money. We can then target those inefficiencies and implement hybrid systems that use less diesel but at the same time maintain operational performance. Fuelfix worked with NRW on a Pilbara-based iron ore mine site to integrate a battery storage system with their diesel generator. After 12 months, the client saved 52,000 litres of fuel and 109 tonnes of carbon emissions and reduced their maintenance costs by 83%. That's not just sustainability, that's smart business. And that's one battery deployed in one location for one application. Imagine what could happen if we can roll hybrid power systems across multiple mine sites. The savings start to escalate to meaningful numbers. Fuelfix currently has supplies more than 90 similar installations across Australian mine sites. If we implement the hybrid model across these setups, we can start to see significant benefits. 9,800 tonnes of carbon emissions, 4.5 million litres of diesel saved, and a significant reduction in maintenance. If we were then to extrapolate those results across the 330 active mine sites, this scales to a potential CO2 reduction of 36,000 tonnes for just one application per mine site. Fuelfix partnered with AirTech to install a hybrid energy system at a remote site office, replacing a traditional diesel generator with a 50 kilowatt battery, 2 5 kilowatt solar panels and a backup diesel generator, a microgrid if you like. This solution offered remote monitoring and will reduce fuel use by the end of the 12-month period by 35,600 litres and CO2 emissions by 95 tonnes, lowering maintenance and supporting quieter, safer and more sustainable operations. Adoption of hybrid power arrangements continues to grow across the industry because they make economic sense. Fuelfix is working with a Queensland coal miner to introduce modular batteries into a mixture of applications across its operations. The annualised calculated fuel savings will deliver in excess of 320,000 litres of diesel and CO2 emission savings of 867 tonnes per annum. Targeting to improve usage across multiple mining plant is where real difference can be made now. Microgrids are the future of off-grid mining power. For Fuelfix, the heart of these is the Cyclone Chat Union battery. Fuelfix has worked with SCU for the past 2 years to develop high-performance modular storage units designed for rugged environments. When paired with solar PV and diesel generator, the batteries will enable seamless load balancing, reduce generator runtime, lower fuel consumption and improve system resilience. Sites using microgrids are already seeing fuel savings for generator applications of up to 70%, emissions reductions of 60% and noise reductions of 50%. These systems are modular and they can be scaled with your operations. Batteries are available from 25 kilowatts up to 1250 kilowatts and can be paired to different load requirements like Lego blocks. The best part? The return on investment is between 2 to 3 years. The systems are connected to the cloud and can provide information reporting on how energy is generated, how energy is consumed, and the CO2 and fuel savings associated. Decarbonisation is no longer a compliance issue, it's a strategic differentiator. Companies that can introduce small changes to their plant and equipment will see lower operational cost and improved brand reputation. If we can harness the data from our fuel management systems and we can adopt technologies like the SCU microgrid, then we can decarbonise without compromise. To recap, decarbonisation does not have to be complicated. You can focus on 4 key areas related to fuel, as Michael said earlier. You can measure it, you can manage it, you can reduce it, you can displace it. How? Audit your existing fuel infrastructure for compliance and efficiency and ensure you understand where your fuel is really going. Install an FMT fuel management system and capture accurate data at key interactions within your organisation. Set a baseline reference for your fuel volumes and your Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions. Choose the right size fuel infrastructure for the right location to optimise your fuel use, optimise your maintenance and optimise your emissions. Review trend consumptions to identify asset health issues to make sure you're dealing with any problematic assets. Innovate with the introduction of a microgrid via a hybrid solution by introducing solar and batteries. Reassess your operational processes for onboarding and offboarding assets to ensure you're maximising your fuel logistics routes and minimising your fuel movements on site. Both Fuelfix and FMT have teams of people who can help you integrate these processes into your organisations and yield meaningful results. So please come and talk to us or some of our people on the stand at S11 and we can discuss how we can help you further. In closing, let's lead the energy transition. If you take anything away from today, please think about how you capture and measure your fuel usage on site. And please think about where and how you're using generators on site, because those little guys use lots of fuel. Decarbonisation is not just because we have an environmental imperative, it's better for our balance sheets and better for our business. Thank you.